After you get it shaped, then you need to come in and do a little bit of final sanding. We did the same cutoff part on here with the dowel cutting draw saw that we did on this piece, on the back piece. So, we're going to the bow. On the bow part where the overlap, I had to cut this one off flush with this side of the hull in order to get this one to overlap. And now I have the nose piece shaped, cut off and shaped and sanded, and now I've stained it. I just put some stain, just cover it with stain and just let it soak in for as long as it will, and come back 2-3 minutes later and wipe it off the excess. And now I'll let that set for a couple days, and then to cure and to soak into the wood, mainly just to dry out, and then I'll go ahead and put a layer of epoxy on it, nice thick layer of epoxy, and that should match it up with the rest of the rails. I've done the same with the stern pieces too. So we'll go in and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the pulling the pin. Okay, the epoxy set, so now I've got to go along and find out where I put in my 23 gauge pins, and then just take a, you know, if you can see it there or not, just pull the pins out. That was the advantage of using the 3/4 inch pins. Slightly move your fingers around, you know when you find them. Probably used more than I needed, but you never know when something's going to slip, because the epoxy is lubricated to size and it might just slump over time. So put in enough along the way to keep things from sliding down on you. Okay, we're cleaning up the hull. We're going to start painting. It's time, everything is ready, and you want to go around to make sure and to make certain, and all those other words that I use, and you can tell I have a cold, that the hull is clean, and then wipe it down maybe if you want to, but it feels pretty good now. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some System 3 2-part epoxy primer, and I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll get on with painting out the hull. I'm getting prepped now to use the 2-part system, and it's 4-to-1, so I've got out my paper cup. You can get in System 3, they're graduated, it's a wax paper cup or anything you have that you can mark quantities on. And so I'm going to have 4 parts of B, it's backwards on this stuff. 4 parts of B and 1 part of A, the hardener. The 4-part has the pigments and all the color in it, and then the 1 part is the hardener. And the other thing I like to do is I'll take a nail, big old nail, and drive a bunch of holes in on the lower lip in here. Try not to disturb the seal so that it won't seal again, but I'll drive some holes in there so that when I pour this stuff, it'll drain back in again. The other thing you want to do is give the part B a good vigorous stir to make certain that all the sediments are off the bottom, that you have a consistent mix throughout this part of it. And the other thing we'll have to do too, once we get it mixed into the cup in the proper 4-to-1 ratio, is let it set for about 15 minutes so that it starts acting, and then you have about 4 hours of cup life, pot life I should say, at 77 degrees, but since it's colder in here it'll be much longer. But like most System 3 products, you're going to have up to 72 hours between coats to reapply without having to do any sanding in between because of the nature of the silver tip epoxy. But this stuff should, at 77 degrees, which is not in here, it should cure or dry out, cure at about 2 hours and some. So I wouldn't expect it to, at the temperature it's in the barn here right now, in the probably upper 40s, low 50s, I would imagine it would be at least 8-hour cure, but that's no problem because I'm not going to worry about it until tomorrow, which then I will give it another coat. So let me pour off screen so if I do anything bad you won't see it and hear nasty, nasty words. Well, I've got my mix and I didn't spill anything, and everything is draining back into the cans because I put those holes around the rim. And that's a really nice trick to use to keep from getting it spilled all over the place. So I'll go ahead and give it a good stir and let it set for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. I don't know what I'm going to do for 15 minutes, but I guess I'll find something. Well, 15 minutes has been around, so let's start getting into this thing. And don't get too much on the tape there so that it will wick underneath. Just get up to it and take it away. Right now I just want to get these glassed in seams, give them a coat first. And be careful where your other hand is. You're not getting paint or primer, epoxy primer over everything, but the rails have been coated twice, so you've got a little bit of time if you catch it quick enough to wipe it up, especially with a wet cloth around. I also want to get a good coat in on these fillets here, so if it does puddle a little bit in any of the depressions, it'll give you a smoother finish. I've seen people paint before and it's not that interesting, so I'll come back when I get this thing finished. I want to make an addendum on the paper cup. I forgot they don't like to be used with water-based things like the LPU paint or whatever. It's great for epoxy, but not good for the mixing the paint, at least for me. I may have been mixing it too hard. So I went back to using just my regular plastic cups, 4 ounce for here and 1 ounce for that. So that gave me my 4-to-1. So it's time to go back. I got another 3 minutes for the third batch, and then I'll go ahead and put that on and touch up places in the hull that need it, and then let it cure overnight. It's pretty well drying right now. It's still the first coat of 2-part epoxy primer is on, and I think I'm going to stick with just the 1 coat. I'm getting enough coverage and fill on the whatever's left of the weave of the glass tape that was not filled with epoxy before when I wet it out. Seems to have filled in, and I'll probably give it 3 coats of white paint. I got some System 3 Orca white, which is a real bright white marine enamel, so I'll put that on. It's water-based paint, so it'll go on. It should dry overnight, but I will rig up a tent with a heater and to bring the temperature up in the barn. Instead of trying to warm up the whole space, I'll just warm up the interior of this, and we'll see what I do when I get to that point. So.